Do you still listen to R. Kelly? Like, just be honest. I'm not gonna judge, all right, at least not to your face. Just let me know. You still listen to R. Kelly? Or what about Chris Brown? You still listen to Chris Brown? Cause I could never personally. I don't know. Me personally, I could never. Oh, who do I listen to? Shoot, Tay K, Lil Durk, K Flock. Oh, and my favorite is King Von.
One of Satan's greatest soldiers was King Von.
Musicians have a bit of a habit of not being the best people on the planet.
Popular rap artist is behind bars after a shocking arrest, as authorities accuse him of being connected to an alleged murder for hire plot.
Have probation. This is a felony, and it does come with the potential of state prison if you should violate in any way the terms and conditions.
A court in New York has found the American singer R. Kelly guilty of sex trafficking and racketeering.
This fact puts a lot of people in a very interesting dilemma when it comes to listening to music. Music is one of the oldest and most popular forms of entertainment ever. For music enjoyers, there's nothing better than finding a new genre of music that you like, or finding a new artist whose music that you like and can attach yourself to. Music can be a great connector of people. It can be a great way to portray emotions that maybe you don't want to do yourself, or it's a great way to feel represented in your emotions through an art form, or for some people, it's even an escape for their terrible lives or terrible situations that they're going through. And once somebody really starts to love a certain piece of music, a certain genre, a certain artist, it's very hard to turn them off of that thing. But because of some of these musicians' terrible actions, there are calls for people to stop playing their music. This conversation of whose music should be played versus whose music shouldn't be played is a very hard one to have, not just because people don't want to hear about the horrible things that their favorite may have done or anything like that, but also just because it's very difficult to remain consistent in that conversation. What's good, YouTube? It's Justice I Used to Be Pay, and today I'm back with another video. And in this video, I'm going to be raising the question of, are you a bad person if you still listen? But before I get into that, make sure you leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Do all those things. It helps me out a ton. Now, obviously, this video is for you and your enjoyment, but also this video is for me as well, because I've been wanting to get more of these thoughts off my chest, because I struggle a little bit with this moral dilemma as well. Just for a context, my favorite rapper is Kanye West.
Be quiet before you get exiled.
Yeah, that Kanye West. So you already know where I'm kind of headed with this conversation. It's very difficult for me, but I just wanted to put some thoughts out there and see how the rest of you guys would react to this, because I think it's a conversation that is talked about, but not talked about in the right way or talked about enough. Whenever this conversation breaks out, it just turns into a whataboutism competition. Oh, well, you listen to R. Kelly? That's crazy. I can't believe that. Oh, well, don't you listen to Chris Brown? That's insane. Oh, well, don't you listen to Tory Lanez? It just kind of goes on and on and on until eventually, like, whoever's having the discussion gets tired. And the reasons why people say you shouldn't listen to somebody's music, or the reasons why they don't listen to somebody's music, is typically a very valid one. You know, it's domestic violence, it's murder, it's sexual assault. It's very much things that if you were to know a person that was doing those things, or if you knew that that happened to somebody in your life, like, that's a huge deal. That's something that isn't to be messed around with. So it makes sense and it's valid to feel that way about people who have committed these actions. But at the exact same time, you have to stand on that, like, all the way throughout. And so then the follow-up of you saying, oh, I don't listen to this person because of this, or I don't listen to that person because of that, is an interrogation of who you do and don't listen to, because for the most part, most people aren't keeping it 100% consistent all the way throughout with every example. As a society, we've become a lot less receptive to famous people and the horrible things that they do and get away with, especially that they used to do back in the day and get away with. Like, R. Kelly was running around for like 20 years and everyone knew that he was some sort of predator. There was literally a tape of him and a child going around. So, like, it was very much common knowledge, but he was just, hey, that's R. Kelly. He gets a little freaky. Like, it is what it is. But nowadays, people get called out for this terrible behavior and there are consequences. But at this point, it's really just a matter of picking and choosing and how people socialize these artists. Somebody like Chris Brown, right? He is socialized as super controversial and somebody that, like, man, I don't know, he's got a crazy past. I mean, yeah, he's talented, but he's just done so much stuff, and, rightfully so. So if somebody were to be playing Chris Brown's music in, a public space or with a whole bunch of people, people are going to give kind of a look. Now, not necessarily to say turn it off, because some people still do listen to Chris Brown, but there is kind of that, thing in the air where if you're not with a bunch of people you're comfortable with, it's kind of like, ooh, okay, like, are we playing Chris Brown in here? Like, we cool with that? Is everybody cool? Even the people that like Chris Brown and still listen to his music have to admit that there is some sort of like stigma when Chris Brown's music comes on where everyone's kind of looking and seeing if everyone's cool with the music. And that's just how it's been since the Rihanna incident. While on the other hand, you have somebody like Uzi, and Uzi is not socialized in that way in any way, shape, or form. Like when you have a conversation of, do you still listen to insert artist here who's done terrible things? Uzi's name is not one that it's not one that gets brought up. And I'm not trying to sit up here and dig up somebody's past and throw it in their face and say, look, this person did this and look, this person did that. I'm just trying to give you an example of how people can be socialized very differently, despite the fact that there are similar things that may be on their record. What really differentiates people from another in terms of how the public seems to react to their actions is really just PR at the end of the day. Like take Tory Lanez for an example. Horrible PR, and people legitimately will not listen to his music anymore, specifically women. Like if you go out somewhere and you're playing Tory Lanez and there's women in the vicinity, some of them are going to look at you kind of crazy like, dang, you're really playing his music? Yet some of those same people will go and play King Von's music. And it's not even like a thing of like, oh, well, male victims versus female victims. And because one of Von's alleged victims is a female. There are so many people that have done things that just don't get the same sort of hesitation from fans in regards to enjoying that person's music. Everyone in today's world wants to be, somewhat politically correct or have some sort of, moral high ground to stand on. And while there are people that are genuinely disgusted by a lot of these people's actions, at the same time, people do get caught up in that kind of mob wave of calling people bad and not keeping that same energy for people who aren't super popular to go at or don't have a massive wave of hate following them. When the conversation comes up of who you should and shouldn't listen to, you typically end up engaging in a very stupid conversation of what's worse, murder or rape? What's worse, domestic violence or sexual assault? Just a conversation that isn't going to lead to anything positive and isn't going to amount to much regardless, because at the end of the day, people are going to be hypocritical and they're going to hold certain people to certain standards and they're going to hold people to other standards when they don't like that person. So it's just really difficult to do, and trying to hold yourself to some sort of like moral high ground when you're listening to hip hop can be a difficult thing because a portion of the genre is rapping about, robbing people, selling drugs, killing people. Like it's just kind of hard to do. And don't even get me started on like, you are who you associate, you associate with, you are who you hang around, because if you subscribe to that theory, that can lead to a lot of things as well. People talk about Nicki Minaj and her husband and what her husband's done. She's probably like the main culprit that people think of when they think of you are who you associate with, because obviously that's her husband. But even somebody like Kendrick Lamar, who is pretty much squeaky clean in the eyes of most rap fans, he's heavily associated with Dr. Dre. And even me saying that name, Dr. Dre, that might not set anything off in your head. You might be like, what are you talking about? What's wrong with Dr. Dre? And that's what I'm talking about when I say people pick and choose who to go after. I know you're waiting on me to address the argument, separate the art from the artist, but in my opinion, that's just like the biggest cope in the world. Like you cannot separate the art from the artist because the art came from that artist. And at the very foundation of what art is, it's self-expression. That's what it is. I cannot create what you self-express unless I copy it, unless I've already seen it. I cannot originally create what is your art originally, right? Like if the song Excuse Me Miss by Chris Brown never came out, no matter how many times you sit me in a room and tell me to write a song, I could write 50,000 songs. I'm never going to write Excuse Me Miss. I could write a million. I'm never going to write that song and sing it how he sung it and made it the exact same song, because that's his art. That's his self-expression. So you can't separate the art from the artist because nobody could have made that art except for that artist. And it's even worse when they're rapping or singing about the things that they might have done in that art. You're going to tell me you believe that throughout all of those R. Kelly love songs, R&B music, not one of those songs was about a teenage girl? You genuinely believe that? Not one of those songs was about an underage girl. Not one. King Von literally told us stories of him killing people. Or if Kodak Black is rapping about his, toxic relationships. The world of allegations is one that's even harder to navigate with things that we can't confirm being thrown out there. The pileup of allegations that are being thrown out right now make it hard to determine the real from the fake. For example, the original Cassie allegations that seem to be a bit more based in reality than the recent Jay-Z allegations that have holes all in the story and inconsistencies that make the allegations very questionable at best. As unfortunate as it sounds to say, the victim of the crime does matter as well. Tory Lanez and Chris Brown's victims are world-renowned stars that have massive, huge fan bases, while on the other hand, King Von was, catching bodies on people living in Section 8 that nobody cared about. And that's just the unfortunate truth. I remember a while back, I think it was shortly after Rihanna did the Super Bowl, Chris Brown was complaining about the fact that he's never going to be able to do the Super Bowl, or he got kicked out of like the NBA Celebrity All-Star game because Ruffles didn't want to work with him or something like that. And he was posting a list of all these celebrities who have done similar, if not worse things than him. And he was saying he was tired of being treated way worse than everyone else. And this is going to sound crazy, but Blueface said something profound. I know, sounds insane. He said something profound that was 100% true and 100% unfortunate.
Is, cuz you beat up the wrong bitch. Yeah. You got a bad judge. Like, you feel me? We didn't all get the same judge. Cuz, yeah, I got a bitch, you feel me? She gonna fight back, so I'm gonna get less time. You hear me? You beat up yeah, you beat up the wrong bitch. You beat up the bitch that just performed at the Super Bowl, nigga. Like,
when your victim is someone the world cares about, people tend to take that accusation 20 times more serious. And of course, it's just due to the fact that they like that person, but that's just the reality of the situation. If someone right now were to assault SZA, if she got into a relationship and they put their hands on SZA, that person would be going through hell. While on the other hand, if, I don't want to put any names on anybody, but like, let's just say somebody very similar to 21 Savage in the same place in their career put their hands on their girlfriend that nobody knew. It wasn't even an IG model, just a random girl. It would be a story, don't get me wrong, but it would disappear in 5 months. It would disappear in 3 months when something else happened. Nobody would be like, man, don't play his music in the club. That's crazy. But if somebody were to put their hands on somebody like SZA, that would be how people would talk about the situation. Oh my gosh, you're going to play that person's home. I can't believe. It's just a difference of your victim. If we were to have a completely 100% honest about everybody and what they've done and who we shouldn't be listening to and those types of conversations, if we were just keeping it real with everybody, we would have to start looking at some of our all-time greats in hip-hop and have some really uncomfortable conversations. We would have to start looking back on the Pacs and the Biggies of the world and some of the others and being like, I don't know, are we still listening to these guys' music? And really the only advice that I can really give somebody in this conversation is that if there are people that you don't want to listen to personally because of the things that they've done, that is 100% okay and 100% fine. Nobody can make you listen to R. Kelly. Nobody can make you listen to these guys. But I would say you probably shouldn't try to dictate other people. You probably shouldn't try to hold them to that standard, because at the end of the day, you're probably being a hypocrite somewhere down the line. Somewhere down the line, there's probably some hypocrisy coming from you. Maybe you're perfect. I don't know. But for most people, there's going to be some slip ups. There's going to be somebody that fell through the cracks that they still listen to that has done some very reprehensible things. All I've talked about so far in this video is people who have done bad things. I haven't even gotten to people who have said bad things or pushed really terrible ideas. And you know where I'm getting at with this. This is a reference to Kanye. I spoke about him at the beginning of the video, but Kanye has gone full Nazi. He's even wearing the chain with the symbol on it. I'm not going to be able to show you a picture of it or, name the symbol, but you know what I'm talking about. And this is my favorite rapper of all time, ever. He makes the best rap music ever, in my opinion. He has the best discography ever, in my opinion. And you can't even sit there and be like, oh, well, separate the art from the artist, especially with Kanye, because he is putting his ideologies in his music. He's mentioning the stuff that he's been saying on Twitter in his music nowadays. And honestly, if we really want to get into it, a person's ideologies might be more representative of who they actually are as a person than just their actions. I fully believe sometimes people can do things that are really, really bad, and that might not be them as a person. They might have had a really bad moment. They might have just, certain things might have happened and they can recover from that and they can grow from that. But somebody's ideologies, that is who they are. And you can't sit there and be like, oh, well, I don't support Kanye. I don't support the things that he's saying, and listen to his music. And that's something that I struggle with. I'm like, bro, all the stuff he's saying is nonsense and it's crazy. But he made graduation. And I obviously don't make that argument. That's stupid. But like, you get what I'm saying. Like, I can say I don't want to support Kanye. I can say, oh, I'm not going to buy any easy stuff. I can say I'm not going to do this. But at the end of the day, if I'm listening to that music, I am supporting it. Even if it's not like through like a DSP, even if it's, something I bought or something like that. I'm building the Kanye brand by adding to that and listening to his music, playing it around other people, showing it to other people. I'm still supporting him regardless of me not wanting to support what he's saying. If I'm actively listening to his music, there's no way you can sit there and be like, you're not supporting him. That's the number one way to support a musician, is to listen to their music. It's just so crazy that we have these conversations, because if these were people that we knew in our real life, everyday life, that had these type of things tied to them, we would just cut these people off with no questions asked, or it wouldn't be very hard to remove yourself from that situation. Like, hypothetically, if you had a favorite mom and pop restaurant in your local town and the owner of the restaurant gets exposed for touching little girls like R. Kelly, you probably wouldn't have an issue not going back there. You probably wouldn't be like, man, I don't know, man. He was just, that pasta was so fire, I still got to go get it. You probably wouldn't feel that way. If your local baker was, abusing his wife every day, you probably wouldn't still go and get your donuts or whatever from him, your cakes. Probably still wouldn't do that. If your barber was out here catching hats like King Von, you might not get your haircut by him anymore. Actually, I don't know. I don't know, man. Your barber, I don't know. You can't, it's hard to cheat on a barber, man. I don't know. That might be like the only one where you might actually stay, because it's hard to find another barber. I can't lie. But still, the rest of them, you get what I'm saying. Like, in these situations, you would remove yourself from them. And most people have a very short leash for people in their real life who do these types of things to other people. But when it comes to people that are famous and provide them with something that they love, like music, that leash is just 20 times longer. This is just a place that I really struggle with. And it's not like I'm sitting here trying to claim that I'm some super good person, humanitarian, donate all my money, great guy. Like, I'm not trying to say that, but I don't think I'm a bad person. But when I listen to this music, sometimes I can't help but feel that way. Like, I wish I could play R. Kelly's music. He has great music. I wish I could just play Chris Brown's music and not think anything of it. I wish I could just, play Kanye's music or King Von's music and just not think anything of, but I do. And it's almost like a ignorance is bliss situation, where it's like, it would honestly be better if I just didn't know any of this stuff. If I just had no idea about anything that these people did outside of their music, it would be fantastic. But that's just not the reality of the situation. And the knowledge that I do have makes it to where, yeah, some of that music can turn me off. Like, I just can't, like, I'm sorry, I just can't help but think about underage girls when I hear R. Kelly's music, when he's singing about love and booties and stuff. Like, I'm just like, bro, ew. Like, I can't do it. I can't. And I just know that, like, it's a struggle for other people too. And I just don't know where to quite draw the line and how to stay consistent with that. Like, I just like, when is enough enough? I would think the R. Kelly situation would be enough for most people, and most people would agree. But once we start trickling down that list, where is that line? Want to stay away from certain people's music because of their actions as a person, then I think that's great. I think it's perfect. And I think, honestly, more people should follow suit. But when you try to call other people out or try to point out, like, I don't know if you better make sure that everything is in a row on your end, because more times than not, it's probably not. Like, there's just no way of avoiding certain situations when it comes to these musicians. And I'm not just talking about rappers, really. This can apply to all genres. All genres, especially those rock stars. Rock, I know the rock fans are, ooh, rap is so crazy. I know how y'all get down. I know how some of y'all artists get down, so let's not even do that. But for me personally, it's just hard to find some consistency that's easy to follow when it comes to holding these people to the standards of at least not being like the worst person alive. Like, I feel like that's not too much to ask for, but I guess with musicians, it is really a lot to ask for them to just not be the worst people alive. And again, it's you can't really just say, oh, well, I don't support the things that they do, but I like their music. That's just not how it works. It's just not how it works. If you're going to still listen to that music, you are supporting that person. No matter how you want to go about it, no matter how you want to slice it, that person made that music, and you are contributing to something by listening to it. If you're listening to it on a DSP, obviously they're getting some sort of compensation by that. If you're listening to it and playing it around other people, you're introducing them to the other people. If you're listening to it even on your own, you're continuing that person's legacy as an artist. You're keeping them relevant somehow. So that is the main way of supporting someone that is a musician, is listening to their music. So there's no way around it. There's no way around it to say, I'm not supporting that guy. He said that or he did this, but man, this song's a banger. Sorry, not how it works. But if you made it this far, I greatly, greatly appreciate you. If you know where that line is, tell me where that line is. Tell me where you say enough is enough and you remain consistent that if they do this, you can't listen to them, but certain artists might be able to slip through. I don't know. Just let me know how you feel about it. And if you feel the same way that I do, where you're just like, it just is what it is. Like, I just got to be a hypocrite sometimes, I guess, because I was listening to King Von's music like it was nothing. All that kill, do this, drive, pop out, I was listening. Oh yeah. But you play some R. Kelly around me and I start itching. I'm like, oh my God, I feel sick. So it's just little things that we're all, I guess, hypocrites with when it comes to that. But if you made it this far, I greatly appreciate you. Make sure you have a good day. Be safe, be blessed. I go by the name of Pay. Peace.